Hey everybody, welcome to Ignite Empowercast. Welcome to Ignite Community. Welcome everybody. We wanted to reach out and do this. This is our wonderful first time going live on Facebook for the Ignite Community, talking about our Empowercast Live. As many of you know, as an Ignite author, we love to do Ignite TV. We love to do Empowercast with you, and today we're doing it live on Facebook because we wanted to talk with you directly. Those of you that are at home, those of you that are in what we call sanctuary, enjoying your time alone, we wanted to come directly to you on Facebook. We're talking about Ignite Your Courage. We've got one of our very, very excited new Ignite authors in Ignite the Female Changemaker. Elena Harder is here with us today. We're going to be talking about some of the things that this Ignite process is all about, what it was like for her to write her story, a little bit about her Ignite moment, and we're going to share with all of you some fun and enjoyable, and I always say fun first, but just some heartfelt tips for you to take advantage of this time that you have to be by yourself. But first of all, let me introduce a very good friend of mine. We met years ago in Costa Rica. We've had the opportunity to connect numerous times again throughout the past few years. Elena is a great inspiration to me, and she is currently about to be published in Ignite the Female Changemaker. Welcome, Elena. How you doing? Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Daisy, for that beautiful. Thank you for that beautiful intro. I'm super excited to be here today and super excited to be broadcasting as the first live Ignite moment. That's beautiful.
Right. We're like, you are the inaugural Ignite author to be on our Facebook Live. So welcome, welcome. So tell us where you are in the world and give us, I was talking yesterday to some of the authors about the neginim and the posinim. Lots of you know that I use that term. And if you've never heard it before, a neginim is like, that complaint or that low energy word, that low vibration word. And a posinim is where you take that and turn it around. So lots of neginims are kind of going on in the world of news and social media and with the coronavirus. So I always say, okay, give us the neginim and then give us the posinim.
Yeah. So right now I'm in Michigan, United States. I'm near Ann Arbor, and neginim is probably my internet is not working the way I want it to. It's okay. It seems to be working today, but it's like I'm running on a cell phone line. That's a little bit challenging. We're looking at getting it hooked up, and the media around me is pretty scary right now. Some of our housemates are TV watchers, news watchers, and that's a little intense. So I'm super grateful for having my noise canceling headphones when that's a problem. And posinim is totally just, I'm really excited and passionate and just like so grateful about my love and that I'm in a really beautiful, safe place. I had a moment at the Canadian border where it was like my partner couldn't come into Canada. We tried to like exit to Canada, and the border turned him away, and there was a possibility that the US would turn me away and my son away from re-entering the US after that. And it was just like this crazy, crazy moment. So I'm just like still living in so much gratitude for being all together and being together and being in a place where we've got family around us. We're living with an aunt and a mom and a bunch of dogs who are super sweet. So I'm really grateful. I could be in a campground that's closing down shortly, or in an Airbnb that's closing down shortly, or any of those such things. So I'm super grateful that I have like a grounded, stable house where I can just stay, until all of this. I keep saying the dust settles. It's like whenever the dust settles, then we'll look at whatever next time. So.
And I love that you're seeing the gratitude in it, because there are a lot of scary moments, or, interesting or challenging, or, conflicting, or just not what we're used to. I mean, maybe, the truth is it's just not what we're used to. We've been going through life in a very sort of systematic hamster wheel, on the, treadmill kind of attitude, and there is this shift of how things are very different, and good or bad or right or wrong is really not the issue. It's like it's just a whole bunch of things that are brand new to all of us. So thank you for sharing that and being on the gratitude side of it, because we're all very, very, very lucky that we are where we are in the world. So thank you. Let's talk Ignite. Let's talk Ignite. So you have decided to be in our newest book, Ignite the Female Changemaker, and just let's walk us through the journey. So what was I know that even starting the book was interesting and challenging for you. So tell us a little bit about, stepping into becoming an author and deciding to write a story. What was that? How did that feel for you?
Oh my gosh. So I've been writing for years now. It was sort of part of my own therapy for myself, part of my own, if I had a really challenging moment in life, I'd be like, I can handle this because I'll write about it later and that'll make it okay, something like that. So I've been writing for years, through all of my awakening journey and through so much of the challenge that I used to be in. And I always thought I would do, my own book, and I have 30,000 words written of it. It's in a Word document. I've written it, I've edited it. Still know there's pieces that need to be written. There's pieces that need to get cut out. I have all these ideas around it. And it was actually right around the new year that I was like, I just have to get out there more. I just have to start sharing what I've written. And I wrote a piece and I sent it out to my newsletter. It's probably the first newsletter I'd sent out in like 4 years or something. And you responded back and were like, wow, you're an amazing writer. Like, you should be in the book. And I had been thinking about putting together a collaborative book with sharing parts of my stories, but gathering also other parts of other people's stories, because I do believe we all share so many of the same themes and the same challenges. And I really wanted to gather other people's stories to be able to share that. And then all of a sudden you popped up and you were like, hey, you could be part of a collaborative book. You don't have to do any of the publishing. You don't have to do any of the editing even. You don't have to, there's just so much less you have to do. And you only have to put one chapter together. I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. I can make like published author happen.
And I just want to say why I did that. Like, I just want to say why I did that, because Elena and I had met a few years ago in Costa Rica. We had a really great connection, and we had met. She had come and stayed with me a little bit while she was traveling in Canada. And then again, as she said, I hadn't heard from her for a few years. And then she put out this email, and it was so raw and so authentic and so real and so vulnerable. I just had to email her back, because what she showed in that very simplistic, I mean, it was a lengthy email, but it was just an email. I mean, a lot of us feel like, we've got to do something grand and big. It wasn't. It was an email. And that email was just so real and so true to how she was feeling that I felt compelled. I felt compelled to read the entire email, regardless of the length. And I felt compelled to reach out to her, because she did the number one thing that, writing is really meant to do, and it's to touch the heart and to connect with people and to make people feel relatable to you. And so this is the cool thing. That little one email started a chain reaction. And I'm sure I was not probably the only person who responded that has, sprouted into other growth, but I responded, and that was me filling you with a seed of idea. And then boom, 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 boom. It just unfolded.
Yeah, super beautiful, super, super beautiful. And you mentioned that email being really raw and vulnerable. It totally, totally was. And then the process of writing the chapter was like even more raw and vulnerable, because it was, sorting through. It's like, oh, I have all these words that I've written. It's like, which one of those stories really captures the essence of what I want to share the most with people? And then once I had gone, gone like, yeah, this is what I want to share. I wrote out a whole list of all these different ideas and different things that I might want to write about. And even I talked with one of the editors early on during our story Kindle, and she said, some people, they think they want to write about the most vulnerable moments, and then they decide they don't want to, or they'll cut out bits and pieces that are too vulnerable. And I was like, oh, that's not me. Like, I'm going to share the rawest, dirtiest, grittiest piece of my story that I couldn't possibly want to share with people, but also it was so poignant for me. Like, it was really a turning moment, where I went from victim to, self-centered, and like, okay, whatever happens, like, I have to find a way through this, which is why I wanted to talk about courage today, because I think that's a place where a lot of people are in right now, where there is this tendency to go, oh, woe is me, and the world is doing this, and this is happening, and that.
You said it so poignantly, the victim to hero, or the victim to learning, or the victim to awakening.
Yeah, and just like in this exact moment, it's like my feed just cut out. I could sit here and be like, oh, life is out to get me. Or I could go, okay, what can I do right now that I can do to help fix this? And it's like, oh, actually, it was actually just wait for about 4 seconds while the internet kicked back in. Great. So that's good to know, And maybe that is really, I think a lot of this is like learning how to wait and learning how to be patient and trusting that the outcome will be okay, which, I'm going to put my hand up and say, like, I struggle with that in moments too, because it's really huge. It's like the whole world. And they're like, wow, that's a big problem. It's a fucking huge problem. It's bigger than any problem I've ever conceptualized. And it's more intense than like global warming, which seems sort of diffuse and challenging. This is like, relatives' death and everything shutting down and financial crash and like all of these scary, scary concepts that I'm sure people have been thinking about, and they're thinking about how those things impact them in their own ways. And so I really want to make sure that people can see that's why I wanted to share this particular story, especially for moms who have been struggling, who are already feeling overwhelmed before all this starts. I spent 7 years, maybe 8 years as a single mom, traveling the world, working from home, homeschooling, doing all of these things that people are now like, oh my God, I have to do this all of a sudden. I chose to do those things, and it was crazy. Like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as a life choice, but now that it is a life choice and now it's a life circumstance for a lot of people, it's like, how do you find your way through? How do you find a way to find the courage to show up, to keep waking up every day, to put another smile on your face, to look for the positive, to feel good? It takes courage to feel good when everything is crazy. You're like, oh, like the world is messed, and I need to find a way to feel good. That can be challenging, and it feels selfish sometimes, and it feels wrong in some ways to feel good while other people are in chaos. But we flew a kite this morning, and it was so beautiful. And my son is like maybe the second or third time he's ever flown a kite in his life. He's just thrilled.
Yeah, it's
And I was
really,
like,
it is kind of neat that this time is really allowing people to settle in, and I had people tell me the other day they'd gone to a craft store and bought some crafts. I've had so many authors tell me they feel inspired to write. Last night we were talking on one of our masterminds. One of the authors said, for the first time in years, I feel creative because it's like I have this calmness where the creativity is allowed to come out. You talked a little bit in the beginning about, the chaos of writing. And I think a lot of authors go through that, where they feel, this flood of information. Where do I start? Where do I begin? What do I pick? What do I choose? And
yeah.
there's this kind of purging moment. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you're one of the authors that just had like this flood of words that came out and, went over word count at the beginning, but that's okay. But just talk about that. Talk about that purging point.
Yeah. So it's really poignant, really powerful I think when I wrote my first draft, it came out at 6,000 words, and we had about 2,500 words that we were allowed to put in, 3,000 at the max with all the extra stuff at the end. And I was just like, shoot, I have to pull 3,000, I have to cut this in half. And it was a really powerful experience, because what I realized was that I was actually attached to being in pain and having that story heard. It was like, oh, I need people to see how strong I was. I need people to be in the nitty gritty of it with me. And as I took the time to write it out and then sit with it and edit, it was this realization that I had actually already lived through it. I have already overcome it, which is why I had the ability to write about it and be willing to share that with other people. And as I sort of chopped sections out, I was like, oh, people does it actually serve somebody else's journey, right? Because then all of a sudden the story wasn't about me anymore, although it's about something that happened to me. It's about how this serves somebody else, And it's like, oh, it doesn't serve somebody else to know that I'm still a little bit grumpy with my ex about what happened. That it doesn't serve the storyline, it doesn't serve the thing, and I got to sit and be like, okay, before I chop this chunk out, I'm just going to sit with the fact that I did still feel a little bit grumpy about it, and I needed to really process that. And so there were whole chunks that came out, and it was like, oh, there's this like rant about pancakes and about wheat and gluten and all this dairy and all of these things, and I wanted to go on like a 10-page rampage about the dairy industry. And it's like, but that doesn't serve the journey. It doesn't serve the journey, and it doesn't serve the experience of somebody else. And it really helped me create some distance between myself and that story. Whereas when I chose it, I was like, oh, this is so good. It was still really grippy for me.
Right.
And I mean, I recorded it recently in audio format for my podcast, which if anybody is interested in checking out, I'll make sure that JB has the link and can share that. But I cried. Like, I had like snot running down my face. I had tears in my eyes. I was reading it, and I'd just be like, oh, this is a good place to let those tears out. And then I'd go, but this next paragraph isn't. And I go, okay, and here's the empowerment, and here's the strength, and here's the force, and here's the part of me that could battle through those tears and go, okay, all I want to do is fall on the floor and cry right now, but my son needs me, or life needs me, or the world at large needs me right now to stand up and go, there's so much, like, I know so much about being overwhelmed as a mom at home with her kids trying to work. Like, I did that for like so many years. I have so many tips and so many suggestions. And so you know, even now for me, it's like in these personal moments, it's like I woke up this morning, I was like, oh my God, the world, like, what are we going to do? And how is this all going to resolve? And I had a moment and a choice of like, I could let myself fall into woe and misery, or I could wake up, do my normal morning routine, you know, take care of my body, show up for my son, help him do breakfast, play with a kite for a bit in the morning, knowing that I had this later in the afternoon and I got to show up for this and be my most beautiful self. And that is really like the essence of courage. It's like, in order to find the courage to do it now and now and now and now, it's like I find that having something in the future that you're heading towards, having a big dream, having, you know, you're like, you want to touch 1 billion people. It's like, holy crap, that's a lot of people. But
Mm-hmm.
that fire and that courage to reach 1 billion people, like, well, I'm only at 4,000. Better get on it, you know?
Ignite 1 billion people, baby. Exactly. And, you know, we can do it. We can absolutely do it. And I think, you know, your story is so relatable to so many people. And when you talk about courage, one of the things I keep hearing is when you do something, I mean, you were single momming it, you were traveling around the world, you were homeschooling, you were world schooling. It was hard. Same when I did it. But when you do it, you create this muscle, you create this, you know, this resilience to it, and it gives you the courage to do a little bit more and do a little bit more and do a little bit more. And you're talking about that with your writing too, like when you sit down and write and you get the courage to get it out, to purge, then you're able to look at like, what do I need to hang on to? I need to hang on to this pancake story. Do I need to hang on to this grumpiness? And and if you don't want to let it go in your story, and I sometimes say this to people after the fact, like if there's something in your story you didn't want to let go of, you probably aren't ready to let go of it in life, and it might still be a burden. It might still be, you know, on your shoulders. And so you kind of felt that way with some of the things in your story you let go of.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, when I reread it, when I read it out loud and recorded it the other day, after I was done, I was just like full of tears and still feeling a little bit sad and a little bit sorry for myself, to be honest. It's like, oh, and I was like, well, you know, I could either wallow in that, or I could take the lesson from the story and I could show up and play games with my kid, because that's what he really wants to do right now. You know,
Right.
he's got a board game set up 24/7 on our dining room table, like a different board game every 4 hours. And I'm really lucky that like grandma's living with us right now, and she's doing a lot of game playing, which I'm super happy for. We're living with her actually, but whatever. Um,
So let
and
me interrupt you for a sec.
you know,
Tell me, like, I know the
yeah.
audience is like, we want to know the story. So just give us like the shorted version, keep them in suspense so they go and read it, but just give us the crux of the story, and you know, what was the ignite moment for you?
Yeah. So um, the story is really a touch point in my life where I was pondering suicide. My son was about 2.5 years old. It was super challenging. I was pondering suicide, and I was in a foreign country, so I was like, what happens to my son if I do that? And so I went from pondering suicide to pondering throwing us off a building together, or trying to, you know, daydreaming, like escape would be death for both of us. And in that place, and then something happened that just shook my world so hard that it made it, I was like, oh my God, like that could actually happen. And it went from daydream to reality so fast, you know. And we're both still here, we're both still alive, but it was like all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, like I am a powerful creator of my life. And what if that really did happen? And I realized I needed to change my thoughts. I needed to change my attitude. And I needed to say, that isn't allowed anymore. And to really start working on my mindset, start working on my mind, start working on the things inside of me that were so unbearable that I felt like
I think that happens for a lot of
it
us.
was going to be great.
And it's quite common. We think of something, we have this thought, and we focus on the thought, and the thought, it's like you focused on the thought, and the thought, it's like, okay, this is what you're thinking. I'm going to just show you what that looks like. I'm going to show you what that could feel like. And it was like, that was sort of like a big awakening for you, because you were talking about it, focusing on it, putting a lot of energy into it. And the universe was like, oh, okay, let me give you a little flash screen of what that might look like.
Yep. Yeah. And it's like warning shot, like, whoop, you know, here it is, one step outside of you. Here it is happening to somebody just really close to you, so that you can see you know, what that impact might have on your life. And in that moment, it was like, boom, no way, no way, you know. And it took me years to get out of the funk that I built myself into, to be totally honest, because I didn't know what tools to use. I didn't know how to do it. I had to go and learn those things. And so I feel really blessed now that I have all those tools and I use them on a daily basis, and I'm really walking my talk. And I have the ability now to be like, hey, you're in the same position I was in. Here's 5 tools. Do this one for this week, and that one for that week, and that one for the next week. And by the end of 2 weeks, you're going to feel so much better. You know, even by the end of the first 5 minutes, you're going to feel so much better. And so, you know, I know a lot of people in my friend circle and in my community have been on these long awakening journeys where it's been like years, you know, somewhere between 2 and 10 or 25 years, where we've been working to bring consciousness and meditation and awareness to the planet. And this is really a time where it's like, what causes awakening? Crisis causes awakening.
Right.
Crisis causes you to go,
amen,
shit, like this is, I got to do something different. And so we're in a time where there are so many people who are ripe for that kind of transformation. And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who have already been through sort of this slow, steady, painful, you know, 2012 to 2019 journey of finding those tools and learning the shadow work and doing the things, so that we can now help people just go boom, and they go from, you know, their 9 to 5, you know, rat race world to, oh my God, now I'm homeschooling, world schooling, unschooling, working from home, working remotely. I actually have so much freedom. You know, I can choose my day. I'm going to jam pack my work in and do all of these things. And I have the ability to release myself now from all of that suffering that was caused really from the outside world, but also from that person buying into that outside world and having a codependent relationship with it, versus really claiming integrity from self and connection to self, and that world that's outside is actually coming from yourself, from your imagination, from your thoughts and your patterns and your subconscious and your you know, the unknown behaviors. And there really are tools that so many people are well versed in now that can really help you shift things really, really rapidly. And so if people are like, oh my God, the world's a mess, like, find a healer who resonates and start working with them. And if they're trained
find an Ignite author. I mean, every one of the authors in our books have gone through that transition and have stepped through it. And it's not about perfection. It's not about, oh, they're way up here now. It's not about ultimate success. It's about the taking of the, you know, crawling over the broken glass or climbing out of the hole or working your way through the mud and getting to the other side. And whatever that other side looks like, there's still lots to go, but it's that journey. It's one step ahead of the journey. And I agree with you so much. There are so many people who in this moment of time are going to realize, like for the first time, realize how catatonic their life has kind of been. And then they're going to wake up and say like, wow, there's another way to do this. And there's even another way to do this. And I really feel like Ignite and the inspiration that each of the authors provides is really a handhold. It's an anchor. It's an arm reached out to like, here, try this idea, because we've been through it. Like, you know, come check it out, because there is this real powerful awakening in this moment right now where we as human beings are in charge of our destiny, our lives. We're not just cogs in a wheel. We can manifest anything we choose, and we are on the precipice of manifesting greatness. So I love your story. So yeah, Elena's going to be in Ignite the Female Changemaker, and that is coming out on May 30th and 31st. That's going to go launch on Amazon May 30th and 31st. There's 50 stories in the book. We are having 50 amazing female change makers, and you'll have an opportunity to read her story, and she's going to share lots more. But spoil us for a minute and just give us one of your tips. Give us one of your tools, one of the action steps that you took, just something to help others, you know, take action today, do something right now after this call, and to get to where you are, improve their lives, you know, feel the courage that you have gained through your experience.
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you so much for the invitation to do that. So I remember when I shared this with you, you did it right away, and you took a Sharpie and you actually wrote on your fingers, and you were like, okay, breathe, create love, magnetize, look inside, and love to be me, or celebrate, right? And So having visual reminders is obviously super important. I've got Post-it note on my door here that says, you know, written from my partner, I love you, you're so beautiful, thank you so much for being in my life. But there's so many things, so many things. But the one that I really want to share is breathing. Straight up, it seems so simple, but when we're stressed, the body goes into contraction, we stop breathing, we breathe like this big instead of this big, and it causes more panic because the body's like, oh my god, is there a shortage of air, are we in lack? And we really can change our physiology very, very quickly by breathing and focusing on a positive memory. And most people will go, okay, I did one deep breath, I'm good now. And it's like, you know, are you really
Well,
good after
I
one?
don't know. Maybe more than one, please.
I was like, are you really good after one deep breath? And so the thing that I love teaching is called your 5 fantastic fingers. And it's really simple because all you need is your hand, your commitment to do the practice, and you just do 5 breaths on each finger. And I've got a video on my site that we can link to, or I can go through the whole thing right now. Do you want me to go through the whole thing right now?
Do it. Yeah, do the mini version for sure.
Okay. Let's do. So let's say you're in your life and you're like, oh my God. And all of a sudden you realize that you're caught in a moment of like panicking about virus stuff. Okay. Or you're on Facebook and you're like, oh, I can't handle this anymore. And you close your phone, but your body's still in panic. Okay. So what you want to do is you're going to go, okay, I'm going to do that 5 fantastic fingers thing that Elena taught me on the Ignite thing. And you're going to go, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it from start to finish. No matter what I'm feeling, no matter what happens, I'm going to do it from start to finish. Because when you build a commitment loop, when you go, okay, I'm going to do this and I finished it, that builds so much self-confidence. It builds esteem. It builds your muscles. You know, it's like we're doing psychic workouts when we do this, because we're building our ability to go from chaos to clarity, from panic to calmness. Whatever that journey is, it's just like we're taking our body, our physiology, because your soul already knows that everything will turn out fine, and maybe you even die, but like your soul is eternal, so who gives a crap, right? But your human body is freaking the heck out and is out of balance in some ways, which is why you're feeling panicky or anxiety or worried or depressed or angry or whatever it might be. So when you recognize you're feeling that is such a gift. Okay, so I want you to take your ring finger and your thumb and put them together and take 5 deep breaths there and just go like, wow, I am so grateful that I realized that this is a thing. I'm so grateful that I caught myself in a pattern of panic and I'm doing something to change it. I'm so grateful. You can look around your room and be like, I'm so grateful that I have this beautiful room. I'm so grateful that I have a house over my head right now. I'm so grateful for the people that I love who are around me, or whatever those things that you're grateful for. And you just spend 5 breaths there, just breathing.
Yeah, it feels good just to take that breath. And, you know, gratitude is so powerful. So just.
It's going to totally start shifting you already, okay? So then once you've done those 5, you're going to move to the next finger, which is create love. So then you're going to think about something that feels amazing. Something that you're like, oh my God, this is the best thing, that's the thing that's actually working in my life right now. Like for me, I'm just like, my partner is fucking stellar. My son is so beautiful. I'm so grateful to be in this house, right? But whatever it is for you, you're like, oh my God, I still have a job, right? Maybe I'm working remotely and it's a headache, but I still have a job, or I still have a house. I paid off my mortgage, or whatever, or like I have groceries in my fridge. I don't care what it is. Find something and just like, right? And you're gonna anchor that in, and this is gonna create an anchor so that literally you can come back here. You're feeling panic again, you can go, oh, I'm gonna come back to that. And it's creating a physiological anchor so that when you touch these fingers, you feel more and more peaceful every time you do it. So you're gonna do 5 breaths there. And then the next one is magnetize. So that's like, what do you really want, right? We've created a calm space. We've created a more coherent field. What is it that you want to create? What is it that you would need? Do you need more money? Do you need more food? Do you need social contact? Do you need a call with a good friend? Do you need emotional support? Do you need whatever it is that you need? 5 breaths, thinking about that, imagining it, not imagining sometimes when we imagine ourselves, we see ourselves and we see the thing and they're sort of outside of us. I want you to imagine being inside yourself, receiving whatever it is, like actually, like receiving cash from somebody and being like, sweet, or like looking at your computer screen and being like, wow, my bank account's better, or opening the fridge and being like, oh God, thank you so much to that person who like brought food to me, or whatever it is, or, you know, getting the news that you're getting rehired somewhere, or whatever that thing is. I'm just giving some examples. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do 5 breaths there, just really basking in like, oh, that's so much better. Like, thank you. Finally, like, it all resolved itself. It's so beautiful. Like, oh, I can relax now because everything's better. It doesn't matter if everything's not better in your life. What you're doing is you're reprogramming your brain to go from chaos to some sort of
Mm-hmm.
solution, because now you're imagining there's a solution instead of getting stuck in, oh, right? Instead of getting stuck in the panic. So the last one is, I like to go look inside. You know, I'd be a little bit silly about it if you're feeling like you just like, oh, that's just be silly, and
I
especially if
like
you're
that. That's a nice one. Awesome.
they're like glasses. So look inside is really just checking through your body. You know, we're doing a scan from toe to head, head to toe, just being like, is there any remnants of that original panic left, or is it all gone? You know, is there anything left that I'm feeling that's still stressful? And if there is, that's okay. Just go back to the beginning. Better to do it twice than to not do it at all. And
Mm-hmm.
when you go back to the beginning, it's going to feel so much easier because you've already worked through so much of that panic by doing so many of the breathings, right? So we're looking inside to make sure that we've cleared it all out, and we're really, really clear, because when we
Yeah,
do.
I like this one because I always like, I realize like, oh, relax those shoulders. Like when I go and look inside, you know, I've done the breathing, I've done the mental part, and then this one really makes me like, oh, sit up straight, because actually my kidneys and my intestines are feeling pinched, you know, and oh, move, uncross my legs because the back of my calf is, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so I actually use this one to like remind my body of all the places like, oh, relax, stop gritting your teeth. And I use that one to really get my body to relax.
Yeah, and for a lot of people who are, you know, light workers are really good in their imagination, there's a tendency to solve the problem up here. And I really think that in this time and this space, really we need to take that, you know, okay, we've created this whole little happy world that's up here. We really need to go whoom and really feel it in all of our chakras, feel it in our entire body. Be like, you know, as a woman or as a man, like, can I feel that in my creative centers? Can I feel that in my womb? Can I feel that in my testicles? Like, have I got it? Can I feel really the power of my creative force?
Mm-hmm. My
Shape
root, the core of you,
and
the root of you, the part of you that's grounded.
yeah,
Absolutely.
have I got it all the way through? It's so important. And then the last one, I like to go like this and go.
Mm.
If there's other people, we can go and give them little long distance if we're social distancing or whatever the heck we need to be doing, right?
Sending you
And
kisses. Mm.
right, and this is just celebration, right? Because it's so easy to go, okay, I did my 4 and I'm done, but I really want you to take a moment and celebrate. You did it, you started it, you saw it all the way through. Maybe you had to cry partway through, that's fine, you know, but you made it all the way to the end. And taking a moment to celebrate helps wire into your brain, oh, this is something that's fun, it's playful, I'm doing this, and I feel better afterwards, and I'm really, really feeling good. And then just go like, how am I feeling on a scale of 1 to 10 compared to where I started? Like, hopefully you're, you know, above a 5, at a 7, at a 10. I don't know, maybe you're feeling all the way better, you know, because you've done this. Oh, am I okay? Yes, I'm all the way
Mm-hmm.
okay, right? And just like, yes, I'm all the way okay. And you can get up and do it
Yeah,
happy.
we just don't celebrate enough in nowadays. You know, we do things all the time and we don't celebrate. It's like the bar is always higher, and so I love that, taking the time to celebrate. We're always talking about celebrate your wins, celebrate even your mini wins, your micro wins. Just celebrate where you are in your life, and I love the 5 fingers. When I did it with Elena during her story polish, we wrote the words on our fingers, which was so wonderful. I posted it on Facebook, and a bunch of other people wrote words on their fingers. I don't know if you saw my Facebook post, but then other people started writing their 5 words, and it was turned into a little like daisy chain of people writing on their what I'm like, what would be your 5 words? And I love your 5 words, but you can put your own, whatever on the Facebook chain, a bunch of people put their
Make it
own
your
5
own.
words, and taking that time to breathe is
Yeah.
really wonderful. Those are great, great ideas and fun stuff to do with kids. Absolutely. If you're home with kids or spouses who are ornery, hey, honey, I got an idea for us. Let's do this. What a
Yeah.
wonderful idea. So, and do you have a name for that? Do you call it the 5 fingers, or do you call it the
5 fantastic fingers. Yeah.
5 fantastic fingers? So if you'd like to know more about what Elena's up to, how can people find you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, so easiest is probably bulletproofmoms.com. That'll send you straight to the video that goes through a little bit of my story and how I went through. I mean, people have obviously seen some of it here, but there's also a written out version of how to go through that 5 fantastic fingers exercise, and a walkthrough, like a video version where they can get walked through it sort of more slowly,
Beautiful.
and have me guide them through it if that's for you. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for talking about courage. Thank you for giving, just being honest and transparent as you beautifully are. You can read Elena's story in Ignite the Female Changemaker, coming out at the end of May. You can connect with her, and always you can just find her on Facebook. So thanks, everybody. Hope you're having a great time. We want to just spread our love and ignite to each and every one of you as you are home during this time. We're talking about courage. We're talking about igniting your lives, all the fun things you can do. Use your 5-finger breathing, and we just enjoy having you here. So thanks for watching Ignite TV, and we'll see you next time. Blessings, everyone. Take care, and may your life be ignited. Ciao, ciao. All right. Thanks, everybody.